All right, we're going to go ahead and call our meeting to order. It's a June 1st meeting, our town council. If we could have a roll call, please.
Shannon.
Here.
Leak.
Here.
Leak.
Here.
Morris.
Yes.
Hampton.
Here.
Day.
All right, if we could all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, thank you all. We also have the privilege of having Mark Brady from Park Valley Church here to give our invocation. Welcome, Mark.
I have to tell you, gentlemen and ladies, this is always the highlight of my year. I love coming and hanging out with you guys, and I feel blessed to be a part of a town that just is amazing.
And we love having you, and we love having the church, too, just to let you know.
Yeah. I just want to say a few things real quick, and I know you guys are busy, but Mayor Leak, Vice Mayor Edwards, I've been praying for you. Council Member Day, Council Member Panthy, Council Member Leak, thank you for your sacrificial leadership. Thank you for your servant leadership. Thank you for your integrity and character. Thank you for the love of this town. Thank you for our community and our country, that the love that you show us. You show us what a community looks like, and I'm thankful for that as a person that lives in this area. I just want to thank your families for the sacrifice you all have been making for the past, how many years you've been serving us? 8 years, Mayor. Thank you. Pass that along to your wife, please, and your family. I'm thankful for you guys. You leave our town a much better place.
Thank you.
And how do you spell love? T-I-M-E, by investing time in people's lives. And you guys have shown that. You've demonstrated that. And your job's not finished. God has some amazing plans for the board that's going to be leaving. And it says, "For I know the plans I have for you," says the Lord, "they are plans for good and not for disaster, to give you a future and hope." And I know God's going to continue to use your gifts that he's given you guys, because you guys are amazing. And Council Members Chris Morris and Council Member Steve Shannon, continue the good fight. Continue the good fight. May God continue to bless you with wisdom, grace, mercy, and love. May he bless your families also. Without families, we're nothing. And trust in the Lord with all your heart, and do not lean on your own understanding. In all your ways, acknowledge him, and he will direct your paths. And I would just say for all of us today here in this room that we would choose truth over the trends. Always choose truth. So let's pray. God, I just thank you for your love for us. I thank you for the town of Haymarket. I thank you for the administrative part of this amazing town. I thank you for the council, Lord. Lord, we pray for our country right now, Lord. It seems so divided, but we understand and we know that you're in control of everything. That takes the burdens off of us. You tell us to do two things, is to truly love you with all of our heart, mind, and soul, and to love people or love our neighbors. That's being demonstrated here in this room, and I am so thankful and honored to be here. So God, bless all the families represented here. Bless our community. Bless our county. Bless our state. Bless our United States of America. And God, we just thank you for what you're doing. Give these amazing men and women wisdom in making choices for our great town of Haymarket, Lord. And we love you and we thank you. We give you all the praise in your son's name. Amen.
All right, thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Our next item on our agenda is our public hearing. So without objection, I'm going to go ahead and open our public hearing. And for those that like to speak to the council, if you could just state your name and address for the record. Were there any comments or anything brought in for this? Okay. Anyone? All right, with that, I'll go ahead and close our public hearing with no objection. Our next item is our citizens' time. So if anybody would like to address the council, now would be the time. And seeing none, we'll go ahead and close our citizens' time. Whoop, apologies.
Dottie Leonard, 14801 Washington Street. I didn't know what the public hearing was about, so at least I don't see on here what it's about, so I didn't know if I wanted to speak on that subject or not. But it's too late now. I did want to say how very proud I am to be a part of this town and to observe the police department that is of the highest quality I've ever seen. And I've been in this town 48 years, and we have never had a police department at the caliber that it is now.
And if you could look behind you, Miss Dottie, they're all right there. Can you imagine that?
Oh my gosh. And especially the tallest one in the room is that one right there. I am so proud of him. And being a direct descendant, my grandmother was a descendant of slaves. And knowing that the things that are going on in the country today are from a bad mistake that I know none of these men would ever make. And or ladies, I don't see any, none of those men would ever make. And I'm so thankful that we have people on our police department of integrity that really want to serve and do it with a heart that is right and pure. And I would ask everybody, I was praying about our country and praying about all the things, and I felt like God was just showing me. He gave me a scripture in the about the Israelites when they were in troubled times, and he told them to make an offering to him. And we don't make burnt offerings these days, but we can praise him. So I would say for all of us to praise him, because we know our future and this town's future and this country's future is in his hands. And I'm going to start praising him in advance for what I know he's going to do. And I want to thank each one of you who've served diligently, Mr. Panthy, Mr. Day, wherever he is over there, Connor Leake, Mayor Leake. You have turned our town. I thought when I was on the council a million moons ago that we did a lot for the town, just doing the brick sidewalks and the street lights and declaring the historic overlay and setting up the ARB. But you guys have diligently carried it on, and finishing this town hall, I give you 100% credit for it, Mayor. Hold your head up high, because you left your mark on this town and you're not finished yet. Thank you all for what you've done.
Thank
and
you.
I'm watching you.
Thank you, Ms. Leonard. Anybody else would like to speak? All right, with that, I'll go ahead and close citizens' time. We haven't done this for a while, consent agenda. So the way this would work would be if there's anybody that would like to have something pulled from the consent agenda, now's the time to let me know. Otherwise, we would vote on the consent agenda as it's presented with all the items there. So a form of the motion would be to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Are we ready for motion?
Yes.
I recommend we approve the consent agenda. Make a motion we approve it as written.
Motion by Councilman Shannon,
Second.
seconded by Councilman Panthy. Discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor would say aye.
Aye.
We'll wait for Mr. Day. I see his as an aye. Okay, great. No nays. The motion passed unanimously. Our next item on the agenda is, we're on page 23 of the packet, the resolution regarding the BB&T overpayment addendum. So on that, I think there is a draft on page 23, I believe, sample motion.
Mayor,
Yes.
town council approves an amendment to the fiscal year 2019-2020 as designated on resolution 2020-012 to amend the BB&T tax overpayment refund line item in the amount of $32,594 by moving this amount from the administration health insurance line item and administration salary wages part-time line item.
Second.
Motion on the floor and seconded by Councilman Shannon. Discussion on this motion. Seeing none, roll call vote, please.
Shannon.
Yes.
Lee.
Yes.
Morris.
Yes.
Panthey.
Yes.
Day.
All right, motion passes unanimously. Our next item, there is something I'm going to need to add to the agenda. After speaking to council, I'm going to put the COVID, let's call it COVID wage. We'll put that after the attorney's report and before council member time. With that, our next item is our town administration report. Mr. Kuhn.
Hello. So you guys have my business manager report. One thing to note, the speed table will start work tomorrow, is what I was indicated through VDOT, so that'll start. And Supervisor Canlin's office has just stated that they'd received a bunch of complaints, so they asked that it be low in height. I don't know what that necessarily means, but I just wanted to pass that along to you all. Stand ready to answer any other questions.
Okay. Sidewalks, I understand, they'll start tomorrow as well, or continue as they're,
Correct.
Yep.
This entire week they'll be working.
okay. Other questions for Chris?
A few things here, Mr. Mayor.
Yep.
According to your manager's report, could you expound on the Economic Recovery Task Force meeting?
Yes, so Prince William County got a group of people, business owners, as well as people that work for the county and some other stakeholders. So myself and the town manager for the town of Dumfries are some of the stakeholders that are involved in this. They've got a couple different categories to try and assist with. I'm assisting with the tax and incentives for businesses. That's the group that I'm in. There's a workforce development group. There is a development and real estate group, and then we meet in one big group, and then we also meet in the smaller groups. So we've been having regular meetings on that, on what to bring to Prince William County Board of Supervisors for them to discuss. So just for example, there's 11 members that are in the tax and incentive group that we discussed. It's multiple business members, and then myself, and then the county also has a couple people that staff them as well.
Also, you indicated that you completed employee evaluation forms. Mr. Mayor, I don't know if this is the time to ask the question. Is that completed?
Yes, so we've completed it for the planner, the clerk, and the treasurer.
And just maybe correct me if I'm wrong, is it something that the council does, or?
For every year that I've been a mayor, usually I work with the town manager or business manager, and that's what we go over. So it's the employees' evaluations that are done on a mayor and business manager. So,
But for those who are appointed, isn't that being done, should be done by the council?
well, if we're talking about the chief, of course, that's a
But
different
he's not the
thing.
only one that's
And we're
appointed.
talking about the business manager. We're going to be actually discussing his tonight. But also, I think I mentioned to Martin that we'll be bringing that up in our executive session tonight as far as employees, and that we could actually talk about those evaluations if you'd like to.
So we do have a closed session tonight?
We do, absolutely.
Because, I mean, I'm on council, and this is the first I'm hearing
No,
about
it's-
it, because it says as needed.
Well, yeah, it's always kind of been put as needed, but I received your email, and definitely we had planned on doing this, I think, maybe the last meeting, but then because we didn't have 100% participation, I think Robert wasn't available for the last meeting, so we pushed it off for this coming meeting. So Chris should have been aware that we definitely were going to have an executive session tonight.
Thank you for that, because no one responded to the email about the town manager's position concerning, I mean, it was brought up on May 4th, but there was no other discussion about it.
Right.
So I didn't know if it was happening because
Yeah.
when this came out, it just says closed session as needed.
Right, so I sent over the form that you have, I saw, that we filled out for Chris in doing his evaluation. I gave, for reference only, that if you could score and do the scoring, so that way when we do talk to him tonight, we would have all these different ideas and going over some of the concerns.
So just for my education, staff members who are not appointed, the evaluations are done by the mayor and the manager.
Every year, every evaluation period, there's like a 6-month evaluation period for the clerks, all the different positions.
But appointed positions, the council is not involved in evaluations?
Well, like
I'm just trying to learn because
Sure.
the council is who appoints them, not the mayor and not the town manager.
Right.
Or acting town manager.
I
The
think
council appoints them.
I think what we do is we go by our personnel policy, so that's where we take our language from, and that's where we take our, sort of our direction as well. Chris, if you have anything to add to that?
I'll just add that I know at the town of Occoquan, and Martin can probably help with a couple more localities, but at the town of Occoquan, the town manager did do the evaluations and then would present those evaluations to council, similar to how Mayor had discussed. And then that way you all would be a part of it, but instead of having everybody here and doing the evaluation on each employee, because it does take quite a bit of time, you'll see the forms that are filled out by the employee and the forms that I filled out and the recommendations. So this way you guys will get to see on the back end the evaluations.
Okay, I think what's throwing me off is that it said, on your report, it said completed. It said the employee evaluations are completed.
Yeah, so in other words, I tasked
just
Chris
did
to,
it.
I tasked Chris to come up with a matrix, to come up with a formula, to come up with a recommendation. Yeah, so he completed that task.
So the evaluation is not completed, just the forms.
No, everything's completed. So we've had our, we've gone through and evaluated and did each of the employees.
But
So-
where does the council get involved?
So
Right.
my part has been completed, and now I'm going to bring it on to you all.
Okay, I'm just trying to understand the process.
Okay.
Maybe I'm missing something.
Yeah,
Can someone
the
help me?
process for last, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was going to state that the 4 years that I've served on council, I believe 2 of them with you, Chris, that the mayor's always handled it, and it's never been brought up or discussed because that's how it's always been done. And at any time that council wanted to change that, they could go ahead and bring this up. So it sounds like it is now something that you're wanting to bring up and change, which I'd be more than happy to listen to and discuss. But outside of that, from the 2 years that I remember serving with you prior to, as well as until that we brought you on back in the fall, and this was something that was always done. And so I don't see an issue with it. If council, including myself, ever had an issue or ever wanted to be a part of an eval or ever wanted to do it, we all have the ability to bring it up in an open session like this and be able to change our personnel policy and be able to go ahead about it in that way. So I thank you to Chris and thank you to Mayor for taking the initiative to ensure that they're getting done without having council having to give a directive.
And when we had Jerry, I would definitely assisted Jerry. We went over and did every evaluation for the employees at the time, as well as Kimberly. Not sure if I go back as far as Brian Henshaw, but definitely in the previous town managers or business managers, it's
In- interim.
definitely something. Yeah.
During the time when we had an interim, like,
Yeah, well, yeah, Jerry was definitely a business manager at that time as well. So each one is definitely, and I think respectively, it is definitely something, that reason why you can go into closed session is to
Right.
talk about those type of things. But my thought was to definitely bring that up tonight in executive session, not to, just more of as awareness of that.
so as far as recommendations that Chris makes, financial recommendations, is that just approved by the acting town manager, or is that brought to the council?
No, I approved it.
Okay.
Yep.
As per
The personnel policy, yeah. Absolutely.
I want to put our policy and guidelines on one of our next meetings to discuss.
Our next meetings?
Yeah, we've got
Do we
two
have more meetings?
Well, yeah, remember May 4th, man?
Yeah.
What, May 4th?
Remember May 4th? You were quoting May 4th earlier. Remember May 4th, we went about and we were being proactive and said, let's have a meeting almost every other week.
Every other week
until
until
the
we
end of
got
the
through
term,
the end of the term.
due to everything. So for your records, we have one next week, the 8th. We have one on the 29th.
Yep,
I'll send you a calendar invite. I know you like
Good.
those.
yeah.
But seriously, do you want to put our personnel policy?
I
on
don't think
one
it
of
is
the-
something that this outgoing council should tackle. I think the incoming council should look at it and see if that's the way that they want it.
Okay.
Yeah, it's
But-
been in place for, what, since 2014?
Yeah, but a lot of things have been in place that still don't work. You know, we don't operate with, under the Confederate weaponry that they use now with the police department, so things change.
Yeah.
So, and as things change, you know, things need to change with the times. So if it goes and rests in one person's hands as far as approving certain things, you know, my recommendation is to the new council, it's better to have 6 people that review it than one person. So that's why
Yeah.
I got thrown, because I saw the evaluation said completed, and I didn't know. So that's why I'm bringing it up. But I appreciate you answering, just helping me and educating me as far as that the acting town manager has the authority to do it.
Yeah, it's been done for the last 8+ years.
It has been done, but come July 1st, we have a brand-new mayor. I would not expect for the new mayor to be the one that does evaluation of staff that he knows nothing about and has never worked with for more than a few months. So I think it is in our best interest as a town to look to see if it's better doing it as a group, doing the evaluation. Because, you know, when one person walks in and they're just seeing, starting July 1st, if they're doing an evaluation in October or September, they're only going to see 3 or 4 months. So I would not tackle it with the outgoing council. My recommendation would be to see if the incoming council would look at it and change that policy to make it a group effort rather than, and it doesn't have to be the whole 6 persons. I remember doing it with just 3 persons. There were just 3 persons that were there, and we did the evaluation that way.
Well, the nice thing is that you have like a good 6 months before having to do another one.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, thank you.
Yep.
Draft the leases for town property, could you expound on that?
Yes, sir. So we've got 2 Copper Cricket as well as Washington Street Realty. Finance Committee was part of the discussion with Washington Street Realty. It's just coming up to the month of June for them to sign for that July 1 start. And then Copper Cricket, the same thing. Their lease ends June 30th. So it'd be the same time to reevaluate that one as well.
Okay, so they're not new leases, they're just
No,
renewals.
These are renewals.
Renewals. And we've had some interest too. We've gotten some inquiries through LoopNet for spaces upstairs. I took a call, fielded a call today, matter of fact, for our office space.
Thank you, sir. I don't know if you can expound on this, or maybe Emily during her time, about the 1 mile review. What do we have coming up? So maybe you could just defer it until then.
I'll defer to Emily on that.
But that's it, thank you.
All right. Any further questions for Chris? All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Next up, Chief Lands.
Good evening, Council. You have the numbers for the month in front of you. Does anybody have any questions for me on the numbers for the month? All right. I'll just go over a couple of quick things that are on your handout there. The police department participated in a parade for the healthcare workers that work at Prince William County Hospital and Heathcote Medical Center this month. We supplied an officer to be in the parade of police cars, fire trucks, and ambulances that went around each of those. We appreciate our healthcare partners on that. I'd like to touch on the protests. This past Saturday, we received word that there was going to be a large gathering in Manassas. Myself and Sergeant Shaver and Corey O'Neill were in here on Saturday until it was time for Corey to head home, and then he was on standby, and then it was Charles Burgoon that took his place with us. We stayed here to cover the town until there was several Signal 1s called by Prince William County Police Department. Signal 1 in this county means every officer that's available will come now because an officer's being attacked. At that time, the word was that officers were being overrun by protesters at the Taco Bell in Manassas. So myself and Sergeant Shaver responded. Officer Burgoon stayed in the town to cover the town while we were gone. We helped out in the outer perimeter bands of traffic control so that other officers from Virginia State Police could respond to the scene. We stayed a couple hours and then headed back here. Each time there was a Signal 1, and there was 3 that day. On Saturday, we would respond until the crisis was over. They had it back under control, and then we came back to the town. I was in contact with the mayor the whole time, letting him know what was going on, as well as town staff in case any calls or questions came into Facebook or to the mayor personally. We did the same thing last night. We had extra units in here. Luckily last night it went better in Manassas. We did not have to respond at all. We were able to stay in the town. What time did we leave, Jeff? On 10-ish? And so we stayed here until they had it pretty well under control. There was an issue after that in Manassas with a couple of protesters that was quickly handled by the units that they had on scene. Again, they had a lot of units there. We would only respond when they called a specific Signal 1. Tonight, there is a protest that started at 5 o'clock in Gainesville at the Regal Theater. We've been monitoring that. I've been in contact with Colonel Phelps of Prince William County Police Department. Had several phone conversations with him where he advised they had 150 officers down in that area with 50 more state police officers for support, and that they would let us know if anything was needed and if they were headed our way. Of course, we absolutely support any First Amendment right to free speech and protest. We just don't want any criminal activity, and that would be the only time that we would step in. Yes, sir.
I just have a quick question here. And this isn't a knock on previous or the current. What riot gear do we have here as a police department?
We don't have any.
Zero.
Yes, sir.
Zero. Gainesville, that is our next door neighbor. I will tell you, one of the things I'm going to tackle with our next council and the next mayor, that's something we need to address. If you had to go respond right now to Prince William County and you don't have that riot gear, I'm sure they all have theirs, or most of them probably have their riot gear and everything, and we put you out there on the line because you work for us. You don't work for Prince William County, but we put you out there on the line without any riot gear whatsoever, and you get hurt. That should be on us. So it's hindsight, and we've never needed it, and I understand that, unless you have some.
Well, it's funny that you bring that up. So I asked Chief to give us a number to outfit our officers with that headgear and the protective gear in the shield. So, matter of fact, that was going to be my time tonight to bring that up and to get the council to authorize to have that expenditure made.
I will support that 100%.
Yep.
Didn't mean to steal your thunder.
No, it's all good.
Mr.
I'm
Mayor,
glad
but
that you brought it up.
That was
Thank you.
just.
And I could tell you too, Councilman Shannon, that in the last 3 years, we've had things that we needed to update, and though that was always pushed back a little further, but in the last 3 years, I have filed a grant each year for riot gear. However, the grant is a competitive one and is usually given to jurisdictions that have higher crime rates. Our crime rate always knocks us out of contention for any type of large grant.
Yet you respond to
and
large areas.
That's not a bad thing that we
Yeah.
get knocked out. It's just it looks like we're going to need to fund it if we want it versus be able to get it through these grants.
Now, you'll have my support. That's all I have. Thank you.
To my last thing.
I had one, and then listening to this guy, I forgot.
Well, I know that the next thing is real important, but did you have any kind of rough guesstimate? I asked or tasked you with coming up, it's basically having the outfits for each employee to be able to have in their cruisers to immediately put on or go.
Yes, sir. You're looking at a go bag. Inside the bag, you'd have a chest protector, arm protectors, leg protectors, groin protector, a helmet with a shield, gas mask, and the hard plastic shields for each officer. In addition, a pepper ball gun that would need to be purchased along with the pepper balls. I mean, you're looking at somewhere between 12 to 16,000 for all of that.
Total. Per kit?
No, total. And
Total
that's
for all the
that would be enough to outfit what we have.
And then you have additional training
Yes, sir.
that you would be going
And
through?
actually,
so-
Officer O'Neill was telling me that he's got a contact with the additional riot training that, of course, we would all go to if once that was purchased, if you guys vote for that.
So there are two things. First of all, thanks for you and the department and being proactive with the situation that we have on hand now. I think you guys have done well in reading the situation and getting ready. And I think there was a last-minute call where you just came back just to hang out to see what was going on. So that was good on your part. How do we operate with being outside of our jurisdiction?
So once called, we are covered under a mutual aid agreement. The judges cover us in court, and our insurance would cover us, and the authority to arrest would be covered as well.
Are there any state guidelines concerning? I know this has happened in Fairfax County, where you cannot stop them from vandalizing. I don't know if it applies to Prince William County, but there was that situation in Fairfax County where you couldn't stop them from vandalizing only if they get violent with people. Does that apply to Prince William County or?
Not that I know of.
Okay.
It may be a directive at the time, per situation or per command.
And I know the board of directors, they met on Sunday and they were trying to push that, but it didn't get any traction as far as not using tear gas and the rubber bullets. But I don't think it got any traction. But yeah, that's something that we have to be aware of going out there, because you're gonna be faced with the legislators, the Prince William County Board of Supervisors, who may enact, hey, you cannot retaliate, you cannot, unless your life is in immediate danger. So that's a part of the training that you guys are gonna.
And that also falls on myself and Sergeant Shaver to be in contact with the command staff of that particular unit and police department, which we were. Also, that's why Sergeant Shaver and I handled outer perimeter posts and let the state police and Prince William County Police Department handle it.
That's good. Anyway, again, good job with just taking the initiative.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Okay. Last thing I have is, if you would be patient with me for a second, is so I've been the police chief now for 3.5 years, and half of the people sitting up here were on the interview committee that hired me, and some of you guys are not going to be here, and I wanted to say my thank you for you hiring me, giving me a chance to be here. And for supporting myself and the police department very vigorously for the last 3.5 years. When I got here, we came into a department that was grossly under equipped, and you have given me the ability to get us to a level playing field with the department. So I have a small statement I'd like to read. That's not so small, but. 3.5 years ago, I was tasked by the council and the mayor with continuing the progress that had been made within the Haymarket Police Department and stepping it up a notch in community service and professionalism. After taking stock in the personnel that we had at the time, I set out to pull the most I could out of each officer Most had not reached their full potential and just needed someone that would teach them the proper way to do things and how to get the most out of relationships with the community and with the peers in their department. Over the years, I believe it is abundantly clear that each officer standing back here today has taken huge steps forward in their growth within the department and within this community. Officer Davis has become a proficient drug detector and has consistently led the department in arrests. He is our firearms instructor, our defensive tactics instructor, and routinely teaches women's self-defense classes. Officer O'Neill has become our community relations officer and has done a great job in building community partnerships in order to put on wonderful events for our residents, as well as organizing school outreach programs that have resulted in positive interactions between the police department and our children in the community. Officer Hood is our night shift officer and works diligently to keep our businesses and homes safe and burglary-free. He is a friendly, knowledgeable officer and has developed strong relationships with the people he frequently encounters on a nightly basis. In addition, he has recently assumed the duties of our evidence room technician and is working to get that section in tip-top shape. Officer Burgoon just joined the team and has quickly picked up the Haymarket way of policing. We look for good things from him in the future as he learns the system and determines how he thinks he can contribute to this team. As you know, in a small department, we need every member to contribute so that we can be well-rounded. Officers Anderson and Nugent are our part-time officers and have been an invaluable asset to this department. They are always available to help out with shift coverage or special events, and we rely on them heavily. Fleet Manager Milstead, who's got an eye issue tonight, if you can see, it looks like he got punched, but his wife says it was his fault. Takes care of all the vehicles and makes sure that any recalls are done, oil changes are completed, as well as some equipment installs and detailing of the vehicles. He's taken the burden off of the command staff, and he is greatly appreciated. Speaking of command staff, Sergeant Shaver, can you come up, please? Here. Jeff Shaver was newly appointed sergeant when I got here, and he had relatively little training leading up to the promotion of sergeant. I assessed his needs and quickly worked with him to get him the training he needed and to mentor him properly. He began to pick up on the ways to be a leader and showed his determination to be the best supervisor that he could be. In the last 3.5 years, he has grown so much as a leader and has truly won the respect of the officers that report to him. He has been a huge help to me, and he handles a lot of the day-to-day functions that keep the police department running, as well as being a working sergeant who often patrols on shifts and works patrols. His assistance to me and dedication to this department has been invaluable, and Haymarket is lucky to have him working to keep them safe. Jeff, as a result of your hard work and dedication, your determination and leadership skills, you got me breaking up, bro. Your tireless devotion and willingness to learn and the respect that you have gained from me as your chief and these officers as their supervisor, tonight I hereby am giving you something that you have truly earned. Effective immediately, you are receiving a promotion from the rank of sergeant to the rank of lieutenant. And I have a special guest here tonight that I invited to pin his badge on him, Jeff's dad, Keith Shaver. Sir, if you will, I'll remove his old one and I'll have you pin on him.
Got to cut the sleeves off.
Mr. Shaver, if you'll stand there, we'll get a picture. Do you want to pull your mask off, or do you want it like that? Okay. Mr. Shaver is also a police officer with Fairfax County.
Thank you very much.
Can you get your mom in there?
A little heads up. Nice.
Good job.
I set Jeff up earlier, told him he needed to have something prepared to talk about, so he's going to talk to you, and then we'll.
Good move. Good move.
Yes, thank you very much. Yes, sir, you did. You did get me.
I don't think you could top that, sir.
No, I definitely can't, and definitely wasn't expecting it. And of course, the chief knows that I like to plan everything out and try to have things organized. So you'll have to excuse me a second while I try to gather myself. Yes, chief, he definitely did get me. Thank you very much. I did want to say a couple things when the chief was going to give me an opportunity to speak tonight. I've been lucky enough to serve this town for the last 13 years. During that time, I've watched the town and this agency go through many changes. During the past 3 years, under the guidance of the council, the addition of Chief Lands has brought this department to a new level of professionalism, community involvement, and also camaraderie. This really allows me to say without question that I am proud of the level of police service that our officers can provide to the citizens and the visitors of the town that I care so much about. I would like to thank the council for everything that you've done for this town and everything that you've done for the police department. Speaking on behalf of my officers and myself, I am honored. We are all honored to act as your officers, and we are all looking forward to the new things yet to come. And thank you for your time, and thank every one of you for your service.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So in closing, I'd like to echo his sentiments. Although we serve the residents of this town, no matter who's in charge, and we stand ready under the new council to serve them as well. It's been a pleasure to serve under you, Mayor, and to this council. Some of you are coming back. It will continue to be a pleasure to serve under you, Steve, but not so much Chris Morris. But no, we look forward to it. And again, although we stand ready to serve whoever's in those seats, I can tell you that we will miss you dearly, and I will miss you personally, Mayor and Connor and Mr. Madu and Mr. Robert Day. I see you nodding your head, so I guess you can hear me. With that, I'm done unless there are any questions that any of you have.
I want to make one comment, Mr. Mayor, if I could, while we've got everybody here. Obviously, I guess tonight was the right night for me to wear my thin blue shirt. Prior law enforcement, at the federal level, no. I've not seen a more professional police force than what we got right here. You have made a difference in this town. You are the reason why some people moved to this town. And I will tell you, you have my absolute 100% support as long as I sit on this dais once I get back up there. You have my support. And I'll be damned if I let anything go on without putting up a fight. I have no reason to believe that's going to happen. But I will tell you, you are the difference in this town. And thank you for what you do every day.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments for the chief? Not, we'll go ahead and move on to our next is our Town Treasurer's Report. We're on page 30 of our packet.
Good afternoon, good evening, Council. Not sure if anyone has specific questions on the report, but I'm more than gladly to answer them.
Looks like maybe not.
Yeah, maybe not. Well, a quick update, though. Business licenses were due. We did an extension from April 30th to May 31st. I'm happy to announce that as of right now, we have surpassed the budget amount of $195,000. We are actually at $224,144. Through this time, I have been more than on one occasion worked with businesses, as they, even though during these times they are still looking to do the right thing, and they just want to be able to work with us, which we have. As of right now, there's a few that have reached out, and we're willing to work with them, as long as we can. So that's one of the things I wanted to update you on. The meals tax as well. We are at $636,000 out of the $700,000 we were budgeted. Some businesses were affected, but a lot of them are also have adjusted, and from talking to a few of them, seem to be hopeful to be able to adjust to what is the current norm, and hopefully we will see some of that work, pay off for them as well. That's at this time. That's the only thing I have to report.
Okay.
Specifics.
Questions for our treasurer?
Roberto, could you go over the numbers again, please, for meals tax?
Yes. So meals tax, I've collected everyone except for one business. $636,060. That is up to April.
End of April.
End of it. I'm sorry. End of May.
End of May.
No, I apologize. End of April. Sorry. End of April.
So there's 2 months left.
2 months left.
And our budget is 7.
700. Yes.
Pretty good. Right, Connor?
Oh, it's phenomenal. We're gonna
Crush it.
We're gonna crush it. We're gonna, from the rough numbers that I continue to do, I mean, I think we'll be, out of our budget alone, we'll be around 300K in the black, as long as we continue to watch spending. And then from there, the federal government gave relief to the state, and the state gave relief to the counties, and then the county divvied it up, and maybe Roberto or Chris, you all could speak about it, but Prince William County, I think, said roughly $147,000 to our town. I don't know when we get it. I don't know how we get it, but you add that on top of what we are going to finish in the black already, and depending on what meals tax does over these next 2 months, I mean, I was projecting a 50% loss in obviously March and April, and we came well above that. So if we continue on that trend of what we did last month for April, we have another $40-some thousand month. We'll easily beat our 700,000 goal. Plus, we'll just put more into the black. So we're in great shape to do almost. If we have CIP items or anything, I'll say it, how crazy it may be, but the money's there.
Well, maybe that's where we're going to be looking at tonight as well, properly equipping our officers for these uncertain times as they present themselves.
So, Connor, so when you mentioned the federal monies that we're receiving, is that the same as the COVID wages? The COVID, it was mentioned earlier, something about COVID.
So one of the stimulus packages that the federal government passed gave money to each state, and then each state divvied it up to the counties, and the counties divvied it up based to towns and to towns and cities, or just towns?
Towns for the county.
Just towns, yeah.
And that's the same thing that we're calling COVID?
COVID,
or
yeah. I
that's
wanted to bring
different?
up, the COVID differential is what I'm going to be calling it for tonight, yeah. So that would be another resource to recoup that money but obviously we're already going to be in the black, so.
And have they given us guidelines as to what we can use this to spend?
Yes, so this actually was before Prince William County on May 19th. And this CARES Act, it's the Corona Relief Fund, and there's 3 things that dictate what can happen. It can only be used for necessary expenditures incurred due to public health emergency with respect to corona disease 2019, COVID-19. The second bullet is to cover costs that were not accounted for in the budget most recently approved as of March 27th, 2020, the enactment date of the CARES Act for the state or government, which in our case would be the town government. And then the third one is to cover costs incurred during the period that begins March 1, 2020 and ends December 30th, 2020. So that's what dictates the spending, and just as Councilman Leak indicated, our portion would be $147,726.
So the guidelines you just mentioned, public health?
I've got a copy I can
Okay.
provide to you, but it is what's dictated in the federal act that enacted this whole thing, so I can provide you this update.
Yeah, it's for me, it's just important to understand it before we go into a closed session, just to learn, because if we're going to be discussing buying equipment for the police department, it would be nice just to know beforehand if it qualifies, those type of things.
Yeah, we won't, for exec session, it's not going to be any of that. This is all open session. This would be an agenda item that I added to the agenda for COVID. That's not
Okay.
executive.
Okay, so we'll discuss it here.
Yeah, oh, absolutely,
COVID.
yep.
So, for example, outfitting the police officers would not fall under
Yeah.
this because it's not specifically related to COVID. Where this would help is something similar to, I don't know if you guys have seen now, but there's fogger machines that people have basically developed to help disinfect large businesses and things like that. So this would go to purchasing a fog machine for disinfectant, plus the tablets that it takes, however many it is. So $1,000 for something like that for public health to keep everybody safe. That would be something that would fall under this because it's not a budgeted item that we have anywhere, and this is specifically for public health to keep people safe. So it's kind of along those lines of, and I'm sure Martin can kind of provide some other examples that other localities have done, but that's just one that I know because I've had that conversation earlier today, that's what some other localities are purchasing, is some items like that.
And I don't want to get too ahead of you, Mr. Mayor, but do we have a stipulation as far as when we have to spend it?
Yes, so it has to be
December.
spent before December 30th of 2020.
2020.
And whatever is not spent does need to be returned to the federal government.
Okay, of course.
So,
We'll spend it. We'll find something.
I'm going to buy a fogger for every room.
Yeah.
Thank you, thank you.
Okay. All right, next up, Miss Emily, our town planners report. We're on page 41 of our packet. I think Councilman Morse had something he deferred for, waiting for you to.
Yes, so just a couple quick items. We had our ARB meeting again this past month. We had a couple residential applications, pretty typical applications there. In June, we're going to discuss the bylaws. PC, we did not have a meeting in May. I am going to reach out to the chairman and request a meeting for June. We did have a 1 mile review come in. It came in on May 19th, and Friday I was emailed to provide comments by the end of today. This was 7 days to provide comments back, 7 business days, and so I did email them this morning and express our disappointment in the time frame that they gave us to do this 1 mile review, specifically because of its magnitude of what it could mean for our town. It is for 2 hotels that would be located further down on 55 at Antioch. There's poor traffic flow on the site itself, to name one of many issues that we're discussing. I did receive an email back from the county from Randy Thornton, who stated that we could turn our comments in later this month following the proper meetings with Planning Commission and Town Council to develop those, and that as soon as they had a public hearing set or another meeting with the applicant, we would be invited to attend and share comments. So I will keep everybody posted on that. I am going to get a hold of an electronic copy to go ahead and send that out as well. We don't currently receive electronic copies. One of the comments the county made back in the email was that if we chose to receive electronic copies, we would have them sooner and thus have longer to comment. And so we'll take that and we'll improve on our communication skills from there. So that was one thing. Otherwise, just working with several property owners on grass issues. It's that time of the year, and I think a couple people who don't live in town or maybe are just landlords and don't see their property every day, we're having some issues. So we're taking care of that. Also, the weather's been really nice, so I've been able to get out and walk on our sidewalks a little bit more. Noticed a couple issues that we will need to take care of on our sidewalk. I brought it up with Chris. There's one specific one right in front of the museum that one of the stormwater drains is providing a big blip and a trip hazard. So I'll work with him to figure out how and how quickly we can get that done. Other things, just tree branches overhanging. So the property owners are being very responsive and taking care of these things quickly, so that's been nice. And then last thing, just so everybody is aware, I did receive 2 SUP applications today for QBE, so I will start working on those and give you guys updates in my reports and feedback as soon as possible.
Okay. Questions?
Any questions? I
Two
will-
quick things. The DI issue, the drainage,
Yes.
is that the DI itself?
It's hard to tell. It looks like our bricks have actually sunken around it, and then part of the curb also looks like it may have sunk. So it's going to be getting out there and figuring out, is it the sidewalk or is it the actual DI? I don't think it's the DI.
Okay, because if it's a DI, that's a VDOT
Yeah,
issue.
I
So,
looked and I hoped it.
Okay.
I think it's our issue with the bricks.
the other issue, the Pardue House, what's the latest with that?
So, yes, thank you for bringing that up. There was some discussion for the Pardo House to send out zoning violations. Back in early May, late April, I did reach out to Ms. Pardo. We had a discussion. They've been putting off work on this house since November. I have the emails back and forth since November with her and the phone conversations, and she was very concerned that we were requiring work to be done during the global pandemic. So with that, I discussed with her that on June 10th at the time, was the end of our shutdown, and that within 7 business days, we would look to see that improvements were made on the house, everything was buttoned up, and things were moving along. So by June 17th, 7 calendar days, by June 17th, we should see significant progress on the home. They have cut the grass and moved some of the landscape shrubbery that's been piled up in the back for months, but that's where we stand.
That's an eyesore in this town. It's really an eyesore. So I would just, my feeling is no more leeway. We hold the feet to the fire
Yes.
on that one, so thank you.
That brings me up one other thing that I wanted to mention. Marias has received temporary occupancy, so they are moving right along. They have 2 final things to work through with the building department at Prince William County, and then they'll receive their final. They'll be submitting their as-built to the town as soon as they're drafted up. So the other thing is, I don't know if anybody saw it yet, they did install a small love sign, so they're really hoping to get some people come out just for that and take their pictures and whatnot. So if you have a chance when they're open to swing by, it looks really great. And then when some of our social distancing restrictions lift, we'll do a nice grand opening with them.
Great. And what about our report from the county, like, for example, that
Our
property?
building permit report.
Yeah.
Yes, we received that this morning. I apologize, I've not printed it to put out there,
Okay.
so I can print it. But things are still moving well with the building department. We haven't had any issues or complaints of lately. We're, getting a lot of these projects that were going under the radar, weren't being permitted, or they weren't being properly recorded with tax records and stuff. They're really getting on top of that, so it's looking good.
I'm
for
just
assessments.
curious, like for the Marias, you took a site that, was X amount of dollars, and with all the improvements they've done, they've definitely, for example, across the street as well. You had tax records that were, $100,000, and now you have, I forget how many million they already just put on there for their improvements, but, or tens of millions.
I looked at it actually today. If I'm quoting it right, it's looking like it's a $13 million improvement for across the street. So
Right.
that was one that.
That are starting to pay
stood out.
taxes on. Yeah.
And their permits are still pending, so I know we do have a lot of people ask when's the hotel going to start, so their status is pending at the county, and we're expecting probably late summer there could be some dirt being moved.
Okay. Any other questions?
Just one, under the Moraes Wine tasting room, it states here that action needed by and PC approval. Are we waiting on the PC for anything?
No, that probably didn't get updated properly in the
Okay.
report. I apologize.
Because I'm just wondering if, why is it that we're waiting for the PC to be approved and they're not having any meetings?
No, sir, that was a holdover. For Marias, it says
Yes.
that? It was probably a holdover
Okay.
from a previous.
So nothing is being held up because the PC is not
No, sir.
meeting?
The only items that the PC currently had to work on was the update to the comprehensive plan. And after speaking with Chairman Cottle, he asked that we hold off on that until we had something that needed to be dealt with the town for approval or discussion, and he didn't want to risk having meetings at the time, so. But I am going to ask that we have one on June, I believe it's 15th, third Monday.
Okay. Questions further for Emily, or the town engineer's report is on 43 through 44 of the packet.
I'll just give a little update for Katie. Our Jefferson Street project is going very well. They're back at it this week. They had some rain delays and they were trying to pull a couple VDOT permits so that they could work on closing Jefferson Street to do the stormwater work. They've not received that one yet. They do expect it usually by the end of this week or early next, so there will be a small detour around Jefferson Street. They'll take them down to 55 to 15 to Heathcote or Cat Harpin, so that will be coming up. It's only 2 days worth of work. They have all the stuff they need in place to do the proper detour, flagging, etc.
Okay.
So that's where we're at with that.
Does that affect Longstreet Commons?
No, so it should not, let me back up. It should not affect Longstreet Commons. We made it very clear to the contractor that there's a sensitive issue of people cutting through that neighborhood. The speed bumps were put in place, and it is a big concern of ours. So they're going to do their very best to have somebody up there to deter any cut-through traffic and ask people when they come in if they live in the neighborhood. It'll only be during their working hours, and that's 8 to 4 each day.
Yeah, but with kids being home, I don't know if the other neighborhoods are experiencing this, but these kids live on the streets.
Right.
They have nowhere else to go, and the parents just send them out.
I'll
But
mention it again to our contractor that we really want them to, stand up there, flag, and be certain that they're doing the very best they can to deter traffic. But if it becomes an issue on that first day of the closure, please let us know.
One
Give
of
us
the
a call
things-
or chief as soon as possible, and we'll make it right.
One of the things they could do is put up a VMS board, the variable message board, saying residents only, no through traffic or something like that, if they wanted to do
I
something else
believe
like
that's
that.
the plan further up on Jefferson, closer to Heathcote.
But the
Just
people who
resident
know that cut
only.
through, that sign doesn't mean anything to them.
Right.
And the flagger has no authority to stop anybody asking them where they're going. No authority at all.
Any advice?
Zero.
A tough one. Because you can't really ticket someone unless you catch them going in and coming out.
Correct.
And they're going to give you a lippens that they went to look at a house.
And then you have to basically assign an officer there. He
Right.
has to see them, and then they're gonna give you an excuse, just like you said, especially with the 2 houses that are for sale right there.
Mhm.
If they're smart.
I just
Electronic
recommend
gate.
they put a second VMS
Electronic
board.
gate.
Yeah, we can't afford that. That's a ghetto. We can't afford that.
That's why in the beginning, when I talked to your HOA, I did recommend the closing of this side, and just having everybody go out that side with a gate that can be opened whenever you have an event or you want it open, but to have it.
It's only
closed
2
most of the
days, though.
time.
Yes,
It's only 2 days, and
days.
it's just during duty hours.
Right, just
Because they
8
open
to
the road at night,
8 to 4.
so.
Oh.
Yep.
Question. Alan Myers repaving 55. What's the update with them?
I have not heard an update on that.
I can check
Is that
that
a
out
VDOT?
tomorrow, Connor, and I'll check that out, because Fayette's also supposed to, this side of Fayette, because as you know, I had it taken off the schedule last year because of the third house. I didn't want to pave it and then have a utility tie-in, so I'll check that out tomorrow.
Okay.
Because we were thinking about like streets cleaning. The grit and stuff needs to be taken up, and it's something we would do right now. But
Which
just
road?
Washington Street, yeah. And then the intersection up here, there's so much grit and gravel that we normally would do it, but Chris said to hold off until I spoke to you and see if something, because I think you're going to do it if our VDOT will do it.
Connie,
Okay.
could you please expound on that point you brought up? The 55?
Alan Myers, so Alan Myers won the bid for the repaving of 55 from the Sheets, I believe it's
It's
the
outside of
intersection,
town.
all
Cat
the way
Harpin.
down to Cat Harpin.
Yeah.
So it was just on the VDOT paving schedule, but I know that they had called in and asked to do a pre-construction meeting. And so I don't know, that was right as COVID was coming in, so I don't know if that meeting ever happened, so that's why I was
That's
just
why they
asking.
moved the VDOT
Yeah,
guy
they-
from here to Fairfax.
Probably.
They had the, well, they had the pre-con, as they call it, and everything. I'll check that out tomorrow
Okay.
and get it to Emily so she can get it out to everybody, because I want to make sure Fayette's included on that too.
Okay.
Thank you.
Only other thing I was going to add is I will be out the rest of the week on vacation, so.
Look at you.
If you need anything, contact our
Chris.
business manager, Chris Coon.
Yeah.
So.
All right.
But I have a little list of things that he can keep running for me, so all will be well.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Thanks.
Mr. Martin, we have added at our last meeting, town attorney report.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening. Wanted to report on three things. This is obviously my non-confidential items that I've been working on. There are other confidential items that we won't discuss in an open session. But the non-confidential items that I've been working on include working with your business manager, Mr. Kuhn, regarding the solid waste contract, trying to get that squared away. We've got an extension on that, but we need to button that down finally. Second thing, I've advised the town with regard to outdoor dining. This is a complex issue involving the Alcoholic Beverage Control Authority as well as the Virginia Department of Health, which regulates restaurants. And we're all dealing with new guidance from the governor under executive orders dealing with COVID-19 emergency. And so we've been working on how to best accomplish an opportunity for restaurants to reopen with outdoor dining. I ate in an outdoor dining area today, and it was very successful. Seems to be something that people are taking in stride. So the third thing I want to report on is with regard to working with staff to respond to Haymarket Hotel Venture on their easement documents. We've gone back and forth with them, given them comments, gotten back a revision. It's in my office for quality control, and so I expect to get that to Ms. Lockhart to hear shortly, but if she's going to be out for a few days, we'll miss that opportunity to get it turned around as quickly as possible, but it'll be waiting for her when she gets back. That's all I have. I'll stand ready to answer any questions.
Could you expound on the issue with the Haymarket Hotel Venture?
Certainly. They have easements that are required by town ordinances as part of their site development work, and so they had submitted some documents, a draft of that document had some legal defects in it, and so we responded with comments back and got a revision. Now we're trying to put the final touches on it so that it will properly reflect the interests that need to be conveyed in the easement documents.
It's good that we have your legal eyes looking at stuff like that, because if not, our staff is competent, but there are times when, certain languages, I'm sure, could not be in our best interest, so that's
Certainly.
really good.
Without having these easements, is that tying them up in any delay?
I couldn't answer that, and Ms. Lockhart might be able
Not
to.
at this time, no. They're still finalizing their items at the county, so.
Yeah, it's the
To
county.
my knowledge, they need to finish giving the final at the county. They'll come to us as soon as this is done. They will get their grading permit issued by us, and they will come in and post bonds and all the final documents.
Okay. All right.
How
It's
often are
still
we
there on
keeping in
their
touch?
schedule.
No, COVID is pushed
I'm not sure it was COVID. I think this had everything to do with Prince William County's building when they presented the plans to the person that was handling it, and they left the county, in my understanding, and no one turned it over for over 30 days. All his work was sitting on his desk, his or her desk, and so, yeah, my understanding is the county was a significant delay that pushed them back.
So are we assuming that they're behind schedule at least 2 months than what they initially thought of? Wow.
At least 45 days that we're aware of.
Did you want me to talk about the CARES Act spending?
Yeah, I did have that. I was going to do exec and come back to that, but
We can do that now, or?
yeah, why don't we go into exec first, and that way we'll take care of that, and then when we come out of that, then we'll talk about the CARES and, yeah, possibility of an expenditure or.
Okay.
For exec, would you like to pause this Zoom and you guys call in Mr. Day?
Yeah, we could do that. Yep. Yep. All right. So form of the motion. No, that's right. Actually, I probably could do this.
Give it a shot.
Listen to you. You have a little faith there. Form of the motion would be, I move that the council convey into closed session to discuss the following as permitted by code 2.3711A and L as personnel matters involving assignment, appointment, promotion, performance, demotion, salaries, discipline, or resignation of specific public officers, appointees, or employees of the town, specifically dealing with the town business manager. Give department head. There we go.
So moved.
Very good.
Yeah.
I
Waiting
will
for a second. Seconded by Councilman Panthy. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Mr. Day, we will join you via phone.
Mr. Senate. Oh.
Yeah. We're waiting for your aye there, Mr. Shannon, to go into closed session.
Yes.
All right. Thank you very much. We will be back.
Did you want to do this motion to certify too? Since you did
Yeah,
such a good
I
job
think I
on the
want to
motion
roll
code?
now. Yeah. Okay, we're going to go ahead and bring yourselves back into open session. And a form of a motion would be, I move that the council certify that in the closed session just concluded that nothing that was discussed except for the matters or matters specifically identified in the motion to convey in closed session, and two, lawfully permitted to be discussed in closed session under provision of Virginia Freedom of Information Act as cited in that motion.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Shannon?
Yes.
Leek?
Yes.
Leek?
Yes.
Morris?
Yes.
Panthy?
Yes.
Day?
All right, great. All right, that brings us into back to open session, and I think the attorney might have a motion.
Well, I'll just stand over here so Mr. Day can see me. And anybody else who's watching. So, Mayor, as discussed in closed session, the motion out of closed session would be to direct the town attorney to work with the mayor and council to draft an employment contract for Mr. Kuhn as town manager.
Okay. Need a so moved?
So moved.
Mr. Morris.
No, Mr. Lee,
Second.
please. Mr. Lee, please give it to Mr. Lee.
Under the respect of Mr. Morris is giving it to Mr. Leek. It's Mr. Leek's.
He's the vice mayor. Give it to the vice mayor.
Yeah, and the vice mayor is saying, give it to
No,
Mr. Lee.
give it to me.
Motion by Councilman Leek, seconded by Councilman Shannon. Roll call vote, please.
Shannon?
Yes.
Leek?
Yes.
Morris?
Yes.
Panthy?
Yes.
Day?
All right, great. All right, that took care of that. As mentioned earlier, I wanted to discuss about the COVID and COVID wages. That's right. Just for the record, we'll show that Mr. Panthy had to leave at 8:58. I'll start out with Mr. Kuhn, and then also I want to refer over to our attorney about this as well.
What question did you have about the wages? I'm sorry.
No, just that this is the first time people are hearing about it. So the idea or the thought was, as other localities are now addressing this, that a wage differential to be paid to the employees that actually were the front lines in this. So,
Correct. Just as Mayor's mentioned, that other localities have been providing hazard pay, an additional $2, $3, $4 an hour for individuals that have been dealing with the community during the COVID-19 outbreak, due to the fact that they're essential workers and need to maintain working to continue the functions of the town.
right. And that this is something that obviously then probably could be part of the reimbursement, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, that is correct.
Yep. Can we give maybe the mic to, maybe switch chairs there, if possible? I think, yeah, switch some names around here, too.
So you don't forget who I am. Yes, we anticipate that the hazard pay differential would be a permitted expense under the CARES Act funds. Like everything else, you don't know until you get the final accounting from the federal government. But a number of jurisdictions are, in fact, putting in differentials for hazard pay under the theory that if you are interacting with the public on a daily basis, you're running a hazard these days that you might get the COVID-19 disease. For example, the town of Culpeper has a $4 an hour hazard pay differential for police officers, and a $2 an hour differential for non-police who interact with the public, say through their finance staff that deals with the public on a day-to-day basis, because they're putting their lives and health at risk by interacting with people all day long. So that's one of the things that can be spent under the CARES Act. Basically, the criteria as we know them are not very detailed at this point, but the broad strokes are that that it has to be an unbudgeted expense, and it has to be directly related to dealing with the COVID crisis, and it cannot be replacement of lost revenue. So you can't replace lost income, lost revenue from lack of tax receipts due to the COVID-19 crisis. But you can address such things as protective equipment, the cost to decontaminate spaces, the extra cost for labor, and as we were talking about, the hazard pay differential.
Okay.
And again, the CARES, those funds, if you don't spend it, you don't, you got till December 31st, you don't spend it, you lose it.
Yeah, December 30th is the deadline. If you have not spent it by that date, you're going to give it back.
So did, like, for example, the town of Culpeper put an end to this? I mean, as far as the date, did they do a retro from the date that, like a March?
I don't recall they did a retro to the March 1st date. I don't think they did. Yeah, the money has to be spent between March 1st and December 30th. So that's definitely true.
Right. So this would be a possibility to be refunded, but my thought or idea of this was right now that we could pay this out of just, or basically being so far over in the black that obviously we could fund it immediately or get reimbursed eventually. Because it sounds like this isn't something the money's going to come in right today, but my thought or idea would be to go ahead and put this expenditure through.
And then later we could get
Yeah, you could submit it. Possibly.
Because we don't know how much we're going to get.
Correct.
Well, we have an estimate, actually.
Yeah,
We
do.
know that it's the 147,000 and some change. That was, Prince William County had indicated that today we should be in receipt of it, but I think it's going to take a little bit longer than that, or they may have sent it today, but we do not have it as of right now.
But we know we have 147K coming.
Coming our way.
Correct.
Yes, sir.
So with that, did you do any kind of like rough guesstimate just by taking our officers and for their shifts and what they've worked?
What numbers were you thinking for the per hour rate?
So if you went with like a $4 or $5 an hour differential?
What did Culpeper do? $4?
$4 for police. $2 for non-sworn.
But I do have some general questions. Maybe this is the right time to bring it up. Mr. Mayor?
Sure, absolutely.
So none of these discussions, and this is mostly geared at the staff, none of these discussions that we are having has any bearing whatsoever on the value of the staff or what they've done. So I just wanted to say that because I don't want someone to quote me and say, oh, Chris Morris said you guys don't deserve it, okay? None of these discussions have anything to do with that. But based on the staff evaluations that have been conducted already, there were recommendations. I'm just really looking for an affirmative or negative, but there are recommendations for adjustments in salaries?
You were talking about the previous staff? Yes, oh, absolutely.
So
yes.
there has been?
Yes.
So the evaluation, so I just want to get the big picture. The staff has already gone through evaluations, and those
Right, those performance evaluations. Right, exactly.
salaries, okay.
Correct.
None of our staff suffered any pay loss due to the pandemic?
No.
None?
None.
Okay,
Correct.
so even though we had staff members, including police officers, who stayed home during peak seasons, because I remember the chief put this phenomenal plan in place where he had his sergeant, now lieutenant, he stayed home while the chief was on call, right?
Right, A shift, B shift is what we did. Police department and town staff.
So I'm just trying to gather just the facts concerning, as far as operational, we still continued with our evaluations and recommendations for adjustments in salary. None of our staff suffered any pay loss, and I know there are many companies out there where their staff suffered pay loss because they cut down on hourly wages.
No, we did early, I don't want to say not a RIF, but we had one employee that was part-time that we, because of the amount of volume that we were seeing less, we did not have her come back, correct?
Correct.
So we did have one person that did not because of the sheer volume. But that was a part-time staff that,
Right.
yep.
So, but it doesn't apply to any of the staff that's here included?
Our
in the
full-time
PG.
staff, yeah, our full-time staff is salaried.
Salaried, but none of them got affected by the pandemic. Their salaries weren't affected at all.
No, but it
Sorry.
comes down to what is your definition of hazard pay? Because that's what we're discussing.
Yeah,
is
that's
the
what we're
hazard
talking
pay.
about is the COVID.
The COVID, the mere fact from March 15th, March 17th, when Governor Northam issued his executive order, to now and beyond until we're out of this COVID matter, it's what is your definition of hazard, and do they deserve hazard pay? I don't think it has anything to do with evaluations
Yeah.
or where a salary should be based off their past performance over the last 6 months or
Well,
a year.
I think
and where
it
they're
does.
at.
I think it does have bearing on it because we have been treating our staff good.
We gave them the normal evaluation that they were due.
Right. But
That
what I
we
mean is
by our personnel policy.
what I mean is we didn't hold back anything because of the pandemic. We still did
I probably-
evaluations. We still did salary increases.
Well, no, that's probably incorrect, because one employee, we're not going to go specifics here, but one employee, it should have, the evaluation should have occurred earlier. Another employee wasn't done exactly on time. So there were employees that were due based on our personnel manual that should have had action done earlier. Sooner than what we had, yeah, right. But those are just our normal things that would have happened.
have done either way.
Either way, correct, yep.
But
pretty much-
almost better to the point to where it was weighted to understanding the full financial situation that the town is in, to fully understand, because we had a lot of unknowns with meals tax, with sales. We didn't have sales receipts because someone with Virginia in their, whoever was cutting checks was no longer there in the position. So we had a couple months where we didn't have any sales tax coming in, and that was one of the things that our treasurer kept bringing up. Hey, look, they're due, they're coming, but they're having some turnover, they're having some things. So we had a lot of unknowns in March when we first started looking at these COVID scenarios. And now that we're in May and we truly understand what a full month of April with being closed looks like, we fully can understand where our meals tax, which is a big generator for us, is coming from. We're also going to be able to foresee the decrease possibly in the sales tax over those 2 months, and now 3 months being May, and as we start to get open in June. But we now know that we're in a better financial position than what we thought, because we wanted to go worst case scenario. And so it almost paid out to hold off on those evaluations and anything along those lines. Still, we understood that the town is in a strong financial position, which we always knew, but we didn't know how great it was going to be until now when you're looking at it, and we can see that we're going to be finishing very strong.
And the fact that we have this funding that will help subsidize or replenish
Well,
the...
possibly, because it's not 100%.
No, it's
We will be receiving the.
yeah, it's just exactly when.
But
Exactly.
but to Councilman Morris's defense,
But-
he's saying
It-
the hazard pay may not be
May not be.
reimbursable
Right,
under
yeah.
that.
Well, then, I guess us and as well as other localities would be looking at that. That's the reason why we have it either way. We have the funding to do this. I think it's something I feel strongly about. I think it's the right thing to do, you know, as we...
And would there be cases where you would have staff or officers who some may not receive or would it be across the board, every person who's employed to the town?
Well, what we would be looking at is those ones that were affected. So, for example, let's give a scenario. You had, I'm not sure the part-time officers that were involved during that time, but your full-time staff, you would look at the hours that they worked and be able to come up with a number if they worked for the last 8 weeks.
We did that already.
Yeah.
Yep, so that's what,
Yep.
from March 1st to today, the police department had 3,380 hours and a quarter. So at $4 an hour, that'd be $13,521.
And divide that by the actual employees, and then you'll get probably probably about a paycheck is what they'll end up getting, an additional paycheck for working that.
And then on the admin side, you
It's
have...
a lot less.
Between Emily and Kim, one had 510, one had 474, and then I was only here part-time because I was working from the house for a good long while. And I had 197.5, so at $4 an hour, that would be $4,726. So you're looking at about $18,250
Total for both departments?
for
Right.
both from March 1st to June.
Taking
Right.
that number?
About 18,000.
18,250, give or take a little bit, for March 1st to June 1st.
Does that include FICA and Medicare?
No.
No. That's just
So you would have to
$4 an
add that.
hour for working time.
So the question is, if this amount is not going to be able to be collected from the CARES, the question is, with our overage,
With their overage, it's, less than 10%, 8% or something
which
like
is
that.
the worst case scenario, which we
Right.
should be looking at.
Right.
If we get it back
That's
from
why I would
CARES.
look at it, that hey, it's already where we did what we said we were due, we end the year in the black, and the fact is that we have this money's already set aside in our account that we could reassign it and then be reimbursed for it into the next budget. So, other thoughts or questions regarding this? Councilman Day, did you have any thoughts regarding this? Can we get a mic to that?
To basically pay our staff and our police officers, say, an extra $4 an hour from now through, say, like the end of December, and that would come out of this CARES Act monies. Is that correct?
Sorta. This would be, I wouldn't go through December. I think we're only looking at something with a start date of somewhere in March, whether or not it's March 1st or March 13th or whatever. I think, when did we really start this?
I would say you go to the executive order date, which was March 12th.
March 12th, yeah. So it would go from March 12th until, what is it, maybe next week or the following week when, is that what Culpeper?
I
I don't recall that they had an end date. Now, so, and they have November elections, so they're not in the same position you are of making a decision for a future council. But they had adopted that on a going forward basis. If I recall correctly, it's through the December 30th date.
Yeah.
And but that was 4 hours worked in contact with the public, so if you're working from home, it didn't apply.
It didn't apply, right. And I think that's the way we looked at it as well. So with that, my suggestion would be only going through to June 30th, which in your numbers for your 18, where was your stop on that?
Today.
Oh, today, right, okay. So it would be another,
We would need to evaluate it. However, you would, we counted March 1st because that's when it starts. So if we bump that to the 12th.
So it's about
So
2 more weeks then.
yeah, so maybe it's 20-ish, 20,000. Yeah. So I guess the ultimate question is, the council willing to move forward with this and with some type of a resolution?
I am.
Okay.
Before we get there, can we go back over the PD's number, please?
So I just have from March 1st to today, so their total hours was 3,380 and a quarter, so 0.25.
And what would it work out to be per officer?
Today,
Yeah.
as far as hours wise?
No,
It's got about like 2,000 or something?
A paycheck.
Basically a paycheck.
It'd be $1,690.13, rounded up. But that's just averaged amongst the officers. However, it would depend on the hours they worked, that they were
Right.
here serving.
So the lieutenant would get the least amount. Because he stayed home.
I'd argue that point.
Okay, so if there's a motion to be had, what would the motion sound like if we were to do something like this?
The motion would be to pay a hazard pay differential to be reimbursed from CARES Act funds for town staff having contact with the public for the time period of March 12th through June 30th.
So moved.
Okay?
Second.
Second by Councilman Shannon. Discussion on the motion. Usually we'll take it from the floor, but go ahead.
Would it be an end date? Would there being an end date, would this be something that could resurrect later on?
Sure. Yeah, the new council could be much obliged to take this as time goes further, right? I mean,
Yeah. That's well within their.
And at what stage would we find out if this is reimbursed by CARES?
For sure, we won't know until sometime next year, 2021.
but
Yeah, because it's going to be subject to audit.
of course, we would have had to expend it too. So this way, we are expending it
You
then
are
to be,
correct. You have
Yes,
to
and
expend
that's
it
very important
So
here,
you're
too.
at risk on those
Right.
funds. We think they'll be considered legitimate.
Right.
But there's no guarantee until the final
right.
audit comes through.
Well, let's back up a little bit. If we have 147,726, and of that amount we have, we're allocating 18,250. And January 2021, we find out that this 18,250 does not qualify. We would have wasted 18,250.
No, you would have spent it on your valuable employees to get.
No, not wasted, meaning, yeah, it would be wasted, because it would not be taken out of the 147.
I see what you mean.
Remember my first comment, Mr. Attorney,
Yeah.
this is not about the value of the employees.
Yeah, right here.
Okay, so if we get to January 2021 and we don't, this 18,250 cannot be taken out of CARES, we would have lost 18,250 from the CARES that we could have spent buying another machine or something else.
Right,
My question
at this
is-
point, yeah, that's
My
quite
question-
possible.
My question is, could we find out before December 2020 if this qualifies?
Again, I think it's going to qualify, but we won't know for sure. And that's true for any expenditure, whether you're spending it on a fog machine or you're spending it on PPE. We just don't know how rigorous the audit's going to be from the federal government until that time comes.
But they don't have right now, I think Chris and I think the same, that there's not a list right now of what it covers.
It's just those three.
Just those three vague points.
3 points that he mentioned before.
Okay, right.
And that's it. That's the only three things you have, and then they have
In-
the audit will be conducted afterwards, and if it
In your,
is-
in your information, that was provided by Prince William County, as far as how each of the towns got divvied up?
Yes, that's
So-
where I got that, but the federal legislation that created this whole thing, that's where I pulled the information from, and it also is referenced in the Prince William County.
Well, Mayor, if I might say one more thing about that.
Please.
With the 2011 earthquake, we had FEMA reimbursement, and that was very slow in coming, unlike this, which is you get the money up front. But FEMA took its sweet time in telling us whether they would reimburse. For example, there was a building that had to be demolished on the day of the earthquake. The earthquake happened, and within 24 hours, that building had to come down. And FEMA paid part of that funding at one point, and then some more of it, and eventually, on the third or fourth round, they finally paid for the entire cost of the town of demolishing that building. But that was kind of our experience in Culpeper with FEMA, that, you know, it's a lengthy process, and so I expect that the audit process for the CARES Act funding is going to be a similar ordeal.
Right, okay. And just to refresh our memory, on the motion, it was starting from March 13th to June 30th
March
at an
12th.
hour, well, 12th, for an hourly rate of $4 an hour for the employees that were actually served.
Yes, service in contact with the public.
Okay, all right. So with that, any further discussion on the motion on the floor? Seeing none, roll call vote, please.
Shannon?
Yes.
Lee?
Yes.
Morris?
Yes.
Day?
Yes.
All right, super. One other housekeeping thing that we spoke of, and there again, this would have been great if we knew about this, that we could put it on an agenda, but the protective gear for the police department. So Chief, you said for these grab bags that you could order, you're looking at about $18,000 expenditure? Is that like to the penny, or were that?
I don't anticipate to be any more than 15.
Oh, I'm sorry, maybe 16 was, maybe you mentioned, okay. So with that, I want to see if there's any desire of the council to entertain that. Basically, we would be, what would we be doing? We would be,
Set a not to exceed amount.
we could do that, right. We would forego our spending policy, which I think, you know, there's typical things that we had for our spending policy, that this would go outside the realm, I would see, as the policy, remember, being developed and around when it actually was enacted. You wouldn't need the actual 3 bidders or whatever it took. I mean, you obviously would be looking at this going through the police supply warehouse places that you all get your equipment from?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
One vendor would supply the bag and all the equipment. One vendor supplies the gas mask canisters, and a separate vendor supplies the pepper gun and the pepper balls.
So these would be equipment that, not at the station, but actually would be at every disposal of every officer in their car?
Except
that
for the
they-
pepper ball gun, we're not buying one per officer. We
Right.
just have
One that you would keep
either
as,
either one or two, and it would stay at the station or transfer with each on-duty officer.
and another question, this equipment is specific to the individual, in my understanding, that based on somebody's size, a helmet?
It has some flexibility, but it's sold in like small, medium, large, extra large, 2X.
Right. And this would be their personal equipment that would, they could arrive on scene with this stuff?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. I'm not sure how the other council, obviously, this is something that,
One other comment, I believe we'd be remiss in our duties if we don't support this. I know this would be great to be able to discuss, have public hearings and all that. We're past the due date for this. These guys are working now on this. So I am 100%.
it sounds like it
in
might be a
favor
form
moving
of a
forward.
motion there, Mr. Shannon.
That would be my motion, is that we
Authorize the chief of police
authorize
to,
the chief for the protective service gear, or the, what are we referring to that as?
Riot gear.
Civil disturbance.
Civil disturbance gear, yes.
for amount not to exceed of,
I would say 17,000, make sure.
Okay. All right. Take that as a form of a motion. Our motion, need a second for discussion?
Second.
Second by Council Morris. Discussion.
We do note that this would be coming out of our uniforms and police supplies line item, which would go over that line item, but obviously we would just need to make an amendment to that line item.
Good point.
Well, we've got a couple more meetings to do that. Okay.
I still feel like there's more discussions.
No, still in discussion.
I still feel like there's more research that needs to be done instead of rushing through it. I feel like we do need to do it before this council's time expires, but I think there needs to be some more groundwork. I think you opened up, Mr. Mayor, by saying it just came up, it's something that was just presented, and
Well,
you're just made aware of it.
The immediate need. We've always needed it. Yeah, don't get us wrong.
My concern is they could get called out tonight. And that's why if the chief has done his due diligence to find that, and it's not hard because the other PDs already have it. But my feeling is if he's done his due diligence, which knowing him, I know he has, then my feeling is we need to enact on it quickly. They could get called out tomorrow night. I don't know how soon, even if we approve it tonight, how soon would you be able to get the gear?
So some gear comes quicker than others, some will be, it's projected to be here within a week, some 2. Gas mask canisters, because of COVID.
Yeah, they're probably hard.
It's like impossible, you're talking probably in July before I can get those.
Well, police riot gear is different from what civilians are buying up out there, right?
Yeah, so I'm just talking about the canisters.
Right.
The civil disturbance gear I can get relatively quickly. I can't get it overnight, but I
So let me ask you a question, Chief. You know, you mentioned earlier when you were giving your report that this has always been on your agenda to receive, but it keeps being bumped back. If you were given an extra $18,000 for gear and equipment, would this be at the top of your priority right now?
So, yeah, I guess
Give you,
yes.
Mike.
Sure.
Oh.
Short answer would be yes. I mean, if that's what this money's earmarked for, I would definitely use it for that. I don't feel I would have any authority to use it for anything else.
That's not the question.
Yeah.
Are there other things that's on your list of items that you think would be more beneficial to your department than the riot gear?
No, sir.
Okay, that's the answer I'm looking for.
There you go. And also, as things have presented over time, there's things that I've authorized for him to purchase. For example, I think the AEDs, where we were using donations to help self-fund that. But we needed one in every officer's car to have that immediate response. So I can remember we ended up placing the order, and then the money did come in for that. And there were other equipment items, too, over the years that you've needed, and because of incidents that were happening. I won't go into specifics, but yeah. Narcan is another one that comes to quick mind, you know. So
I can tell you the thing that you said that made me think more on approving this is you applying for grants to purchase it and being left out because of other jurisdictions. And that means, you know, this council or other councils could probably say, hey, just keep on applying, but you may still just keep on being denied.
I would suspect when you're going for gear like that we would be denied just based on our crime statistics. Your best bet on something like that is to go in like a joint grant with the bigger jurisdictions.
Or ramp up the crime and then you get it.
Well, yeah, we don't want to do that. I would say that we would not get this unless we were to purchase it on our own. And again, with such a large sum of money, I've always had other things I needed to do. But I think sometimes you have to prioritize things, and some of these things don't happen very often. Sometimes, you know, lately it's been maybe twice a year we've had incidents like this, or once a year. So it's just like every other piece of police equipment. You don't need it until you need it.
And how would you account? There's some of that gear that has to be changed out every 2 or 5 years. How would you would just account for it?
Yeah, just the canisters that belong in, that are put on the masks. The civil disturbance protective gear itself won't expire. The pepper ball you may have to change them every once in a while, but I don't think that's the case. I think they're always live, unless it's, 20 years.
So in listening to some of the scanning reports, I heard or overheard with Prince William, it seemed like there was a scramble for equipment for the recent incidents. I mean, and equipment that they had to deploy and need to have the keys and you have to move this. Did you find that?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Especially with Prince William County, I mean, they're so large and they have such a large turnover of officers that they're always having to outfit them, and they don't, as far as I know, they don't have equipment for every officer, so it's, it's prioritized. Now, again, I could be wrong on that, but I don't think they have equipment for every officer. But again, they don't also have 650 officers working at every event either. They have whatever they can afford to put out there. Like tonight, they had 150 officers. But
Okay. I guess kind of going off topic there for discussion on the motion. So any further discussion on the motion?
Does that fit all your research and groundwork that you wanted? Was there any other questions that we could get answered?
I was asking the chief. He answered my question.
Okay, I just want to make sure.
Yeah. With no further discussion, roll call vote, please.
Yes.
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 All right, thank you all very much. We're at the end of our agenda here. Councilmember time. Councilman Shannon?
Mr. Mayor, just quickly tonight, again, I want to congratulate Lieutenant Shaver. I think that's well-deserved. Chief, great job there. Thank you to the staff, the professional staff that we have, of course, the most professional police department around. And I'll save other comments for our last meeting of the year. So
Okay, all right. Councilman Leake? Councilman Panthy? Not Councilman Morse?
Thank you, sir. Just looking back at the last town election, I think it brought out what we've always wanted, which was the participation from the community and the residents, and especially to have a success rate higher than the national percentage. That was pretty good for town, people getting out and participating in our democracy.
Yep, absolutely. Yep. I think there were two records made, though. The very first one and then the last one, 2012 and 2020.
2012?
Yeah, we had a record number of write-ins, 800 and some write-ins for that election.
Oh.
Yep, and then the most voted for the last one, absolutely. Councilman Day, any closing thoughts, comments?
No, I'll save them for the final meeting.
Understood. All right. That's it. I don't have anything else. I thank you all for tonight. I thank you for continue to support our police department and their endeavors there, and thank for staff for working through these times as we navigate this uncharted territory. But without the staff, we couldn't do this. So thank you all. So with that, I take that.
make a motion to adjourn.
There you go. Second by Councilman Leake. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right. Thank you all very much. Appreciate it.